Thanks very much, Laura. And just before I get started, I'd like to thank Nicholas Reid and Reid Corporate for putting on this conference. And what I can say, it's an excellent forum, an excellent presentation, and they've gone beyond all my expectations. So I hope they repeat this in Perth next year, and it's going to be bigger and bigger and better. Just by way of a bit of background, just to comment, this is the first public presentation that I have given and SANDFIRE has given since that transformative acquisition. So I'm delighted to be sharing with you in person. I've given lots of virtual presentations over the last 2.5 weeks, but the first one in person, so this is a first. And in terms of boom in a room, I think the boom for me is, my view is SANDFIRE is worth at least $10 a share as we sit here today in terms of a headline number, and I'll give you my sense of why I think that is the case. And we've just gone through a massive rollover of our register and capital raising, which really does require for a little bit of corporate sort of evolution and what would I say, essentially a bit of indigestion in the market. But that's seeming to start to improve itself today, and I think we've been up 10% in the last couple of days, which I still think is relatively insignificant compared to where we're going to end up at. But certainly we're going through a different phase of this business, and I also remember probably being, if I'm correct, at the first Resource Rising Stars conference in the Gold Coast, and probably recall the days when SANDFIRE was a 4-cent share, trying its best, presenting to a variety of people and hoping that they would come along on the journey. And we've been successful a number of times, which is great, and now we're looking to leverage off that wonderful platform to go to the next level of our business and to the next chapter of growth, which effectively is going to be underwritten for the next at least 2 decades from what we can see. Clearly you can read lots of disclaimers here, 3 pages of them. We're very much a copper-focused entity, and we will be looking forward, going to the future metals rather than just a cliche. We have been focused on copper, we'll continue to be focused on copper, and we may have some other attendant minerals as well. But SANDFIRE, even up to this point of transformation, has had a wonderful success story from that excellent DeGrussa and Monty discoveries in Western Australia, highlighted by the fact that last financial year was our best year ever. And it wasn't just because we had a wonderful copper price, but it was very much also because the ladies and the men that work for us have done an outstanding job and have never run that operation better in terms of every single element. Revenue was $800 million from a small operation. 1.6 million tonnes through the front end of a plant is a small operation. And the cash flow that site generated at site was in excess of 600 million Australian dollars for the year, so quite exceptional. There's all the other attendant information, record dividends, etc., record profits and all those other wonderful things. But we've been really busy over the last couple of years trying to work out what we want to be and where we want to go, and certainly have built up our capabilities and credentials, and we want to do more than what we were doing. So we've been busy re-strategizing, realigning ourselves, tinkering with key elements of our strategy. And I'm going to touch on that in a minute to give us some bookends for the rest of the presentation. But a couple of key things we've done is we've acquired some interest in some projects in Botswana which we are developing, and we are expanding that development. We announced that also over the last 12 months, and also again the expansion recently. That's the Mateo production hub in Botswana, and that is going to be absolutely fantastic and extraordinarily significant for us given the scale of that potential there. And as just mentioned earlier on, we've entered into a transaction which we expect to complete towards the end of this year to acquire the Matsa mining complex, not very well known by investors around the world, but extraordinarily well known by mining companies around the world. It's been a privately owned business owned by 2 very large organisations in the middle of Spain, in the Andalusian province of Spain, and a province that there's been mining there for the last 5,000 years, starting with the Phoenicians many, many years ago. And an extraordinary opportunity which we've acquired for 2.5 billion Australian dollars, and which in my view is worth probably about 4 billion Australian dollars as a number in a market sense. So to give you a bit of sense. And we're continuing to be explorers. You know, we've seen wonderful exploration opportunity. We are the result of excellent exploration success, but we see it in other companies as well. Chalice, De Grey, previously Sirius, Nova Bollinger. We're seeing the lithium companies now, some of these wonderful discoveries. So we will be big explorers as well. For us, In our strategy reset, we're in the business of creating value and for a whole bunch of different stakeholders through various opportunities. And we will be looking to build, and we are building, an international diversified sustainable mining company. Being in the copper space, effectively, or base metals, you can't sit here in West Perth or Perth and expect to find another high-grade discovery. You need to go out and find them. You need to go out and buy them. And so you need to get off your backside and go and do it, and that's what we're doing. And we've got 5 key strategic imperatives. We want to execute, deliver on the things that we've got. That's DeGrussa, Monty, building Mateo. Build a sustainable production profile. We are looking to be, well, we wanted to have 150,000 tonnes of copper inside 5 years. We'll be that off the back of this transaction. And our aspirations from where we are, which will soon be 150 to 200,000 tonnes of copper production, is to then, in the next 5 years, move to a level of about 500,000 tonnes of copper annual production, a copper equivalent. We will continue to explore aggressively. Last year we spent over $60 million in exploration, and we want to make sure our people are all aligned, have got the right culture, the right values, and have got everything at their disposal to do the best that they can do with their experience and skill set. And so we'll empower those people. And we want to make sure that we can understand how a business operates in terms of a capital, debt equity, dividends, and various other elements, and be engaged, and also make sure that we can get our message out to the market properly. If we put it all together in one day, and all of these assets were in the company and we're all operating, we'd end up producing about 300,000 tonnes of copper around the world, and we are definitely in the world scale. But we know DeGrussa's rolling off at the end of next year. The US is going to take a little bit more time to develop, and we expect it to be bigger and better than that in due course, but it's taking time. And on the left-hand side of the page are the things that we've been really working hard on in terms of Botswana. Certainly, it's a longer journey to develop a project in a foreign location, but nonetheless, that's been going through wonderful success and has got this larger transformation occurring at the moment with an expansion of that construction. And in addition, obviously, with the acquisition of Matsa, which we expect, as I said, at the end of the year, significant. What it really will be is an underlying of our business over many decades at a very robust production profile of 110,000 tonnes of copper equivalent or more. So that's about US $1 billion a year worth of revenue, and the margin on that will probably be 50 to 60% sort of number cash flow at site. So significant. Just very quickly, DeGrussa, trophy slide, standout success. It has made a lot of money for us, and we've paid a lot of dividends off the back of that. Those coloured areas on the 2 underground mines are the stopes we still have to extract through the process of the next 18 months, and effectively we will still have a really robust period all the way up until the end of the current mining scenario. Importantly for us, we're still exploring aggressively up there. We've got $400 million worth of pristine condition plant and equipment, so we're looking forward, hopefully, if we can continue to explore, having further success, but time will tell. But that's the best place to clearly make a discovery, is around a plant site. In Kalahari, we call it that because it stretches over Botswana and Namibia, we've expanded that operation that we acquired 2 years ago. We optimised a feasibility study from Mod Resources, and we have also completed a new discovery, completed a pre-feasibility study, and essentially we're moving towards a 5.2 million tonne per annum operation that will peak up at 60,000 tonnes of copper per annum, commencing in 2023 is when that project will start its cash flow. And we're heavily into construction as we speak. For us, for Botswana, this is the money shot. This for us is what it's all about. We were in Botswana about 4 years ago trying to buy that little bit of area up the top right-hand side in grey. That is a project called Khoemacau. That project we offered $400 million for. We could not buy it. It's owned by private equity out of London, and they have got in excess of 500 million tonnes of mineralised ore at about a 1.5% copper grade. So there's about 6 to 7 million tonnes of copper in those yellow stars up the top right-hand side. So we're pretty excited about that, and we're trying to buy it. We failed, but what we did notice is the neighbour, smaller company to the southwest, Mod Resources, had some really interesting stuff. We courted them, spent a lot of time, saddling up to each other, and eventually bought their company entirely and consumed it into SANDFIRE, and we've been busy in this region. Everything you see in the salmon colour or the pinky colour and the green is 100% owned by SANDFIRE. We've been busy acquiring further ground, pegging ground, picking it up, and we would own about 30,000 square kilometres in Botswana. We're the largest tenement holder there by a country mile. And this is very much a mining-centric jurisdiction, and essentially it's a mining country, and the biggest operations there are De Beers in their global operations. The two largest diamond mines in the world, Arapa and Zhuaning, are in Botswana. So the country knows mining well, and it's the premier destination to mine in Africa by a country mile. It's very different from other places. But in that interesting area, and knowing our neighbours got 6 million tonnes plus of copper to the northeast there, to the right, we've got an area now, a footprint that is probably 4 or 5 times larger. We believe it's as prospective. It's had limited exploration over the last many decades because it was a bit more problematic to get to, a bit more challenging, and also had some limestoney calcrete cover. So the opportunity for us is immense. Every dot you see on that page is copper mineralisation of one form or another, and this is probably a mineral belt in the world that's got an accelerating rate of discovery. It's just been untouched. So we think its potential is huge. The insert box is where we're commencing our operations at 5.2 million tonnes, and we have got 2 ore bodies that will be operating from an open pit, but there is also underground potential. So the best is yet to come, and if I had a clock on this project, it's about 10 seconds past it's not even into the first minute in terms of the potential that will come out of this province for 2, 3, 4 decades to come in our view. So it's really exciting times, but to be a first mover in a jurisdiction always takes a little bit of time. It takes a bit of time. So we need to be patient, which we're not terribly good at. But nonetheless, we're moving forward at the rate of knots. But in the meantime, what was important for us is to continue that capacity as an operating company and leverage off all the skill sets that we've got, and people and systems and networks and relationships that we've got around the globe in terms of what we have been doing over the last 8 to 10 years. This is a photograph of the MAT's milling facilities. They are world-class, second to none. They've had far too much money spent on them, which is fantastic, by the previous owners, because it's an asset that was owned by, or is owned by Trafigura, the largest trading house in the world, who turned over $250 billion last year and made a profit for a private business of $7.5 billion. So as much as they love this asset, it's small. And their joint venture partner is a $500 billion sovereign wealth fund out of the Middle East, and for them, it's small. So they saw the opportunity to divest it, and they're also, from a strategic and a philosophy point of view, slightly different in terms of the way they look at things. One's very quick, one's very slow. So their relationship was good, but it wasn't going anywhere, so they chose to sell the asset. This for us is transformational. This for us will underwrite the next 20 years of cash flow or more, in our view, for SANDFIRE. So it was a big transaction, 1.865 billion US dollars, about 2.5 billion Aussie dollars. But in that sort of sense, my view on the world, based on the profitability and performance of this operation that's been running for 15 years, that's continued to be improved and expanded upon, it is probably order of magnitude based on its profitability, probably worth in market multipliers $3 billion US as a number. That's sort of what you'd get to if you go through the detail in this presentation at the back and look at our presentation that we made 3 weeks ago with respect to its performance and operations. Scale of operation, it's world-class at over 100,000 tonnes of copper per annum, copper equivalent, significant, and it is tier 1 in our view. So it is basically, when we were looking at our strategic imperatives, we were looking for a high quality, long life, low cost, excellent infrastructure, great people in a good mining jurisdiction. And this asset, which we've been looking at quietly for about 4 years, and we've been trying to, buy 50% off the Sovereign Wealth Fund for that period of time, is something that we were only delighted, very much delighted when it came to market. So from our point of view, the other really important thing is we think it's 12 years mine life easy, probably 2 decades, and essentially has got this wonderful exploration opportunity as well. There's only been $105 million spent in exploration in the last 15 years. We spent $50 million last year in things around Australia. So there's not been a lot of exploration, and we think that's a great opportunity as well. So from our perspective, and I'm just sort of going to roll it down there, is this will take the company to the next level. This as a A leveraged opportunity will underwrite our future as a business, and off the back of that, we see further wonderful opportunities globally for SANDFIRE as we develop our Botswana operations, as we integrate this business from probably early next year, will certainly put us on the world stage in terms of base metals copper production, and we think there are significant opportunities on from there. So thanks very much for listening to me today, and look forward to mixing with you outside. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Karl.